Okay, let's do one more example of the simplex method from top to bottom of a application problem. So in this example, a farmer owns a 100-acre farm and plans to plant at most 3 crops. We have the seeds and how much they cost per acre. We have a maximum of how much can be spent on seed, $3,200. Crops A, B, and C require 1, 2, and 1 work day per acre respectively, with a maximum of 160 workdays available. And it says if the farmer can make a profit of $100 per acre on crop A, $300 per acre for crop B, and $200 per acre for crop C, how many acres of each crop should be planted to maximize his profit? Okay, so we have on this one lots going on. So first we've got our acres of crops A, B, and C. So that's what we're going to use as our variables because that's what we want to know. How many of each one? So that's why the acres of each one gets our variables x1, x2, and x3. And we know that he owns a 100-acre farm, so he cannot possibly plant more than his 100 acres. So we have to keep it less than or equal to 100 there. His seed expenditures, okay, so what are we going to put on those? So how much do they cost? So it's $40 per crop A, which is x1, $20 per crop B, which is x2, and $30 per acre for crop C, which is x3, and we know that he only has $3,200 to spend on the seed. And let's see, work days. Crop A requires 1 work day, so 1 x1, then B is 2 x2s, and C is 1 x3, and he's got, can use up to, but not exceeding 160 work days. Now the profit, what he wants to maximize, he wants to maximize his profit. He can make, what, $100 per acre of crop A, which is x1. He can make $300 per x2 and $200 per x3. Okay, so we're starting this one from scratch. What do we want to maximize and what do we have it subject to? So we want to maximize his profit, so P equals 100x1 plus 300x2 plus 200x3. That's what he wants to maximize. Subject to these constraints, x1 plus x2 plus x3 being less than or equal to 100, 40x1 plus 20x2 plus 30x3 being less than or equal to 3,200, and 1x1 plus 2x2 plus 1x3 being less than or equal to 160. We're going to try to go straight from here. Let's just skip straight to our initial tableau. So you can write these things out, but I'm going to try to save us a little bit of time in our video. If we can just kind of imagine that we're going to add slack variables to each one of these, right? So I'm going to put a y1, a y2, and a y3 in here. And then we're going to reverse, we're going to solve everything for setting the top maximum into 0. So let's see what we've got going on here then. We'd have a 1, a 1, a 1. I would add a y1 into this one. I have none of the other variables, and that one would then equal 100. The next one would give me 40, 20, 30. I would add no y1, but instead a y2, still none of these equal to 3,200. And for the last constraint, I would have 1, 2, 1 with a y3, no p, and equaling 160. And then for my objective function, I would subtract everything over, so I would have negative 100, negative 300, negative 200. Then I don't have any of the x or any of the y's. I have no slack variables in there. I have 1 p, and that would be equal to 0 at that point. So please do feel free to write that out before you go into your matrix. That's a place to get extra points on a partial credit problem, but I'm trying to keep this video under 15 minutes. So to save us that, we skip to there. Okay, pivot column, most negative column is negative 300. For pivot row, we got to check our ratios. So we have 100 divided by 1. We have 3,200 divided by 20, and that gives us 160. And then we have 160 divided by 2, which gives us 80. So it looks like it's this one. That's going to be our pivot row, the 80. So our pivot element is this 2. And that's where we want to start. Okay, so if I want to change that 2 into a 1, I need to multiply that row by a half. So easier to type in will be 0.5 times row 3 will give us our new row 3. I'm going to go ahead and write all of them out now. After we turn that into a 1, we want to turn everything else in that x2 column into zeros. So it looks like once that's a 1, I'm going to need to do a -1 times row 3. Add that to row 1 to be a new row 1. I'm going to need to take -20 times row 3, add that to row 2 to get a new row 2. And we're going to need to take 300 times row 3, add that to row 4. Gosh, I lost track. We have 4 rows now, and that will become our new row 4. Okay, I've already entered my matrix in. If you haven't, pause and go ahead and do that now. This one's going to end up being a 4 by 8. So get everything typed in there. Then we're going to quit. Go back into our second matrix math. We need to do a times row first. So in this case, we're doing 0.5 into matrix A. We're doing this to row 3. Store into matrix A. Okay, so I'm going to start filling in by doing row 3. So this bottom row right here inside though, 0.5, 1, 0.5, 0, 0, 0.5. I've got to scroll over. 0 and 80. Okay, second matrix math again. This time times row plus. We are multiplying by -1 in matrix A. We're doing this to row 3 to change row 1. Store and enter. Okay, so I can now fill in my row 1. My row 1 is 0.5, 0, 0.5, 1, 0, -0.5, 0, and scrolling over 20. Okay, second matrix math, another times row plus for us here. This time we're multiplying by -20. Matrix A. Doing this to row 3 in order to change row 2. Store. Back in matrix A again. Okay, so now I'm going to write down my new row 2. It looks like it's 30, 0, 20, 0, 1, -10, 0, and 1600. And last iteration for this first one, I'm going to do a math times row plus 1 more time. We're multiplying by 300. Matrix A. Do this to row 2 to change row 4. Store. Back in matrix A. All right, so let's see, we've got 50, 0, bummer. -50 means we're not done. 0, 0, 150, 1, and 2400. But look, his profit went from 0 to 2400. So we're just not done. We've got to find a new pivot column. That's the only negative. The most negative is the only one. And then we need to find our pivot row with our ratios. Okay, So let's see, our ratios are in this case going to be 20 divided by 0.5, which is 40, 1600 divided by 20, which is 80, and 80 divided by 0.5, which is 160. So it looks like it's that top one, the most negative, but the smallest but not negative, sorry. So our new pivot element is this 0.5. And I can see that this video is not going to make it in under 15, so I'm going to pause here and pick up one last time.